What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy here from Oceanbound, and I'm here to talk to you about race number 2 in our Summer Thursday race series at Pleasure Bay. So, this race was difficult and full of strife, and I don't have a lot of usable footage. So I'm just going to do a video that kind of documents this race because we did learn some things, and I think it is worth getting that out there for people. First off, the course was hard. This is because it was light wind, and also the winds were from the east. The east winds in our neighborhood, that's directly off the ocean, and for some reason, they just don't have the same pull as other directions. You feel it, like on your face and your body, but you know, it always feels stronger than it is. So we knew the winds were also due to fade, and you know, so we got the races going a little bit early. It was an upwind downwind race. We had 2 TEP buoys marking the downwind start and finish line, and then there was a dock that we wanted to utilize all the way upwind from us that was right kind of inside the rock wall that we have at Pleasure Bay on the eastern side. Well, there were a couple things that we didn't realize. One, the tide was low, so that rock wall was higher than it usually was, and that meant that there was no wind right behind that rock wall. So basically, there was no wind to get to that upwind mark. I made 5 attempts to get around that upwind mark the first time. You'd approach it and you'd be on attack, you know, from way out wide, and you'd be shooting a little farther upwind from the mark, and then as you got closer, the wind would start to die, and your course would you would just see it get to that upwind mark and then below it. And so you get close to it and you'd be like, oh man, I gotta turn around and do this again. I gotta go up higher and point higher. But then, you know, going up higher means you're even closer behind the wall, so it's kind of like a weird catch-22 that like the higher you got, the less wind there would be, but you needed to get up high in order to get around that mark. And like, you know, there was obviously some luck involved and whatnot too, but it just made it very difficult. The 5th time that I tried to go around that mark, I was so close. I was just a couple feet away. I literally jumped in the water and swam around it, and then got back on my board and went back downwind. I think my 2nd race, I was able to get around it up on foil, and the 3rd race was basically about the same situation as the 1st, but just not as many tries. Not to mention, it was also challenging going downwind, because if you got off on foil, good luck getting back up on foil. You had to go almost back upwind to have enough parent wind in your sail to get back up on foil, just so you could veer off, go back downwind, and you know, if your pump game was good, that's cool, but otherwise, it was really hard to go downwind in such light wind on a wing as well. I think the last race, I stood on my board, not on foil, pumping that wing like a half mile straight downwind. And it was exhausting. You're either standing there like do, or you're like just trying to go a little bit faster. I really think in retrospect, I could have paddled all the way downwind a half mile, and I would have probably gotten there the same, if not faster. And yeah, did I say the wind came down? The wind came down. That 3rd race was brutal. I mean, I literally couldn't get back up on foil in that 3rd race. Okay, what else? We decided on a moving start, and that's because we had a race committee, or a race director. Eric had to sit out on this one. So Eric, you know, helped set up the buoys, and then, you know, kind of tethered himself to one buoy and sat down on a chair on a stand-up paddleboard and did the races. So we had moving starts. The problem with that is that none of us had watches, and we couldn't really hear Eric unless we were really close. And because it was so light wind, it wasn't like easy just to do little small circles around that start line. We were like taking big tacks out and then like every time like I'd feel a gust, that's when I would come and do like a turn or something like that. So staying close to the start to listen to Eric was hard, and you're kind of doing that mental calculation or you know, a countdown in your head, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. The good thing is that Eric bought a electronic whistle, so we do plan on doing these moving starts again. I think the electronic whistle will pierce a little bit better. Gear-wise, I totally used the wrong stuff. The first race, the week before, I used a 5.5 strike V2, and I was like, you know what, I should have just used my 6 meter. A little extra power would have done some good, so I went on my 6 meter. That wasn't really a good idea. The 6 meter is great for light wind. I love it for surf and light wind. I love it for I like it for jumping. I like it for everything in light wind. but I've never had to crank upwind before to the ferocity that you have to do in a race, right? So like in this race, I'm trying to point upwind, and both Brian and Dylan were pointing like 10 degrees higher upwind, and that's just the best that I could do. So the other thing is, when I was really trying to squeeze like as upwind as possible, right inside the leading edge, the canopy was flapping, and it made me realize that I was missing like 1.5 meters or more of sail that wasn't getting caught by the wind. Dylan came all the way up from Rhode Island. He pumped up a 5 meter, and then kind of right before we hit the water, center strut deflated. So he was forced to go onto his 4 meter. That sucked for him. Brian, he's the one who won 2 out of the 3 races, and he had that brand new 5.5 meter unit. He was loving it, so he had a good setup for everything that was going on. So in all, this is a challenging set of races. I'm pretty sure we won't be doing an upwind downwind race again, especially in this direction and especially in light winds. Lesson learned. Gear is the thing. You know, I'm definitely gonna bring a watch for a moving start next time. And we all struggled and probably had at least one thing in our quiver that we wish we changed before we went out. And that's just something that we're gonna know more from doing these races and experience and whatnot. And sometimes there's just a lot of luck on your side too. For the record, Brian won 2 of the 3 races, Dylan won the other one on a 4 meter. Super respect for both of them. I came in dead last, not afraid to say that. It wasn't my day. There will be better days. I'd like to thank our race committee, Eric, for giving us a chance to make us feel like this was a real race. I can't wait to do that again. And a huge thanks to Dylan from the Haunt, who brought us all some beers that really hit the spot so we could all kind of get together, commiserate, and talk about the struggle that we just went through. More races coming soon. We already had race number 3 and I've started editing, so that will follow shortly. If you don't want to miss anything, please hit that subscribe button. With that, I hope all you guys are doing well out there. I'll see you guys soon on the flip. I wish you all an awesome day. Later!
Oh man, that totally sucked. I didn't realize it was gonna be now. I mean, everything next race is gonna be so different. Woo!